between these conversations. And lately, I've been feeling called to bring in my community so that you all can learn about all the different resources that are available to help you in this season of exploration, growth, and elevation. And so today, we're bringing on Coach Diamond, and I'm going to allow her to introduce herself, tell you more about the work that she does, and also some of the work that we've done together, which you'll learn about a little bit later.
I'm so excited. Thank you. As mentioned, I am Coach Diamond Drip, and I am so happy to be here with you today. It is something that I've been really looking forward to, despite all the chaos and all the life that's been lifing in my in my life this week. Like life is fully in session. I feel like I've said life 5 times, but that's literally the season that we're in. Things are constantly happening, we're constantly growing. And so having these moments of connection, like pure, authentic, human to human soul connection, is just amazing. So to answer the question, who am I think was the question proposed. I'm a coach, author, and speaker. And what I do is I work with souls. Usually, those souls have a uterus. And I work with souls to help them navigate when life happens. So much of life is uncertainty. And we as humans have this illusion of control. Like, if we just plan everything according to the T, then we feel safe. And then when things don't go according to plan, it's like, oh my gosh, why is this happening to me? What is this like? What does this mean? Right? We think when chaos happens in our life back to back to back, we're like, is the world trying to teach me something? It's like, yeah, it's trying to show you're out of alignment. You're not living as who you're truly meant to be. And so what you're looking at right now is resistance.
Wow.
Is your body, is your environment just letting you know like it is okay to pause and slow down. And so a lot of what I do, interestingly enough, because I was very much in a very conditioned state of like, do everything, be productive. Like, if you're taking time to rest, you're being lazy. You don't need to rest. And I find myself, and I used to say things like, it's so crazy or it's ironic or whatever, but the word that I'm finding that really fits right now is it's divine that I am now the person giving people permission to pause and to look deeper into themselves and to learn about what you came to earth school to do. And so the way that I do that is with tools like human design, gene keys, Akashic records, soul contracts, all of the deep dive information that we can get about what it means to be a human here on earth having this experience. Like, if it's something that has piqued my interest, I've dove down a rabbit hole about it, and I can probably tell you a little bit about your life story, even if I've just met you like 5 minutes ago, which I think is actually what happened when we met at the Small Business Expo.
Yes. Oh, that's a good background. So, like, we met at a local small business expo. As some of you all know, part of my goal has been trying to just get out the house more and make more real life connections, not just online. And so we met, and it was like instantly we were talking about human design, and I was like, oh my gosh, I've been like studying this, and I want to know more about it. And she's like, well, that's my area of expertise, and we just hit it off from there. And so yeah. And then why did you lead with the word control? Because I felt personally attacked.
Oh my gosh. That's interesting. And especially because I'm a mirror for people. So part of my energy is that when I'm with someone, I trigger parts of them that like, and I was, oh my gosh, my daughter's also a mirror too. We were talking about this just last night because we were burning some stuff for the new moon, letting go of old energy. And I told her, I was like, sometimes people are triggered by just our presence or what we say or what we do. And that's why it's even more important for us to be self assured
Mm,
because un- most people won't take that as a sign to like look inward. They'll just
mm,
attack you. And they'll just be like, "You're the devil." And I'm like, and I'm so glad I'm explaining this to her now at 8 because
mhm,
she's already been experiencing it. So when I say control, it was really more so for me because I
mhm.
still struggle with it. I
Yeah.
still struggle with trying to plan my days in a
Mm,
way that this week has been just really busy. And so I see now, as I'm reflecting this to you, that I tried to create these plans for each day
Mhm.
because I felt like there was so much chaos happening. And so yesterday, I'll give a perfect example. Yesterday, I woke up to my car being towed from my aunt's building because I went to stay and dog sit for her while she was out of town for a day. So I woke up trying to get to my car so that I could get home so that I could turn the lights on for Taylor's bearded dragon because she has a bearded dragon. And my life is ruled by lights sometimes because I have to be there to turn them off or turn them on. It's a whole thing. And so I'm in a rush trying to get to Beardy, and my car's gone. I'm
Mm.
like, okay, obviously my car was towed because there's no way that this car is just in my spot that I was in and like someone stole, like, no. So I text my aunt, I let her know I think my car is towed. I'm telling her not to rush because I'm like, at this point, like sunsets, lights go on at 8. It's like 11 o'clock right now. I'm
Mm.
like, it's at this point, the sun will come up at some point. Like, let's just relax. And so she starts rushing. We get to the she comes and picks me up so she can take me to my car. And this tow companies don't make it easy for you. Some of them, like, you go and you Google them, there's not a phone number on the Google listing, there's not an address on the Google listing, there wasn't even a website for this particular one, so I couldn't even, I was like, what is happening? So we're driving around trying to figure out where this tow company is, and it is the most okey doke operation I have ever seen for a tow company in my life. There's no office. They're literally sitting in a van in a car, like talking to each other through a window with like paperwork. I'm like, is this real? Like, do you guys actually have authorization to give me my car back? Like, what is happening? And they let me pay through Apple Pay. And I guess whatever happened, like, right? Just Apple paying someone's number to get my car back. And so just the unprofessionalism just continued because he goes, after this Apple Pay, we're not doing Apple Pay anymore, to the other guy while I'm standing right there. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get my car today. So we go, and we had planned, Taylor and I, to go to Hurricane Harbor because, as you know, Six Flags is closing this year. So we have season passes, and we're trying to maximize those season passes, going to the roller coasters, going to the splash park. And so we go home, and I'm like, I forgot that we were planning to do a bonfire because this was all a part of my plan to like make sure this week was like smooth, even though it felt chaotic. And so now this plan for the bonfire is now getting in the way of like us turning the lights off for Beardy. So I suggested to her that maybe we wait a little bit so we can give Beardy his last meal before we leave. And then we can go and just go to dad's afterwards, and we don't have to worry about turning lights out. In that waiting, we waited out the heat because, as you know, in
Mm.
Maryland, we've been in a heat wave.
Yes. It's
We
been
waited out the heat so much so that it rained. And so we're driving there, and it's not raining. I'm like, oh, we're golden. Like, we picked the perfect time because we're not in the heat. The clouds are out. Like, we're gonna have an awesome time at the park. We get there, and she lets us know at the gate. She's like, we're in phase 3. All of the rides are closed right now. Like, do you still want to come in? And we're like, it's 5:30. Like, they close. The park closes at 7. Water park closes at 6:30. We won't do the water park. We'll just go to the roller coasters. So we wait like, 10, 15 minutes, and then we walk up, and I'm like, I feel like something's wrong, but like my awareness is just like, let's get Taylor to the park. They had the gates like closed to the entrance. So like the only way that people could get in and out was like through the exit. But I didn't notice it until I was at the exit, and I was like, oh, this is closed. Like, they're not letting people in, like season pass or not. And so now Taylor, because she also has emotional authority, like emotions are very strong for her, she's sad. And I'm like, can you just hold it together till we walk back to the car? Um, so that we can like game plan what's about to happen. And so now my Friday is now trying to fit Six Flags in, even though there really wasn't time for that. But that's a whole nother story. So it's just like
life. Oh my gosh.
life was totally lifing, and we as humans have this illusion of control of
Mhm.
like, maybe I can just do this one thing to like make it, be better. And I tried that. She had a coupon for Panda Express because she like got honor roll a lot this year, and so she got a free panda meal. So we go to this Panda Express on the way to picking up the firewood for the bonfire, and they're not a participating location.
What?
so, so just I said control because we as humans, we have this illusion of control that the more
Mhm.
that we let go of that and we simply go with the flow and we lean into what is enjoyable right now, what
Mm.
would love choose in this moment right now, the more that we can ask ourselves those questions
Let me get my
and
notebook out. What? What would love choose in this moment? Huh?
yes, I've been asking myself a lot. There's been a lot of trigger moments lately, and really asking myself what would love choose in this moment, because as
Wow.
we know, like, people have synonymously, I think a lot of people,
Mhm.
um they equate God equals love. I've heard that a number of times.
Mhm.
And so when you ask yourself what would love do, it's almost asking yourself, like, what would the God in me do? What would that inner being who knows more than this 3D reality that I am experiencing right now, because the 3D is real and it's not looking so great right now. But like, what would love do is like tapping
Mhm.
into that 5D version of yourself who sees all, who one of the things that I talk about in my business, that I learned through the Akashic Records certification that I did, was we were, the way I imagine us as like
Mhm.
souls, we were all interconnected up there in the cosmos, like all, seeing everything. And we came down to Earth School so that we could, as Abraham Hicks calls it, contrast. We could experience contrast so that we can be in this constant feedback loop of creation. And when we have contrast, we know what we don't want,
Mhm.
which gets us closer to what we do know we want. And so the more that we can
Mhm.
tap into that God power and to understand that we're just in a feedback loop, the universe just misunderstood something somewhere. And we just need to be clearer about what it is that we
Mhm.
desire, what it is that we want. And so we came down to Earth School for this contrast to experience ourselves. Because up there, all interconnected, we see all, we know all, we are all. And when we come down here, we are conditioned to believe that we're separate from other people and from our environment, and we're seeing what that does for global warming and war and all of those things. But at the end of the day, we are one. It's one of the 12 universal laws. And so the more that we can really embrace that mindset, and again, let go of control, because when you try and
Mhm.
control this 3D world, resistance, I already said it. I already said it.
Okay, one thing that you said that really stood out to me is like in experiencing what we don't want, we get clarity about what we do want. And I think that's really important because a lot of times what can happen is we take identity from our experience and interactions with the world around us and we're like, well, the reason this is happening is because this is all I'm deserving of. And it's like, no, like this is actually here to give you clarity about what is it that you do want. And like holding on to that belief of like there's more and I deserve more and abundance, I think that that's really important. And it's a practice that takes intentionality.
It takes a lot of intentionality. And I love that you brought that in, because, yes, I work with entrepreneurs and bring their design into their business. But one of my personal joys has been healing my inner child
Mm,
through human design, and then using that information to also raise Taylor in her design. And
mm.
it's one of those things where, like, I just. It's one of those things where the more that we are in our awareness
Mm,
of how powerful we truly are, like, we stop asking questions like, why is this happening to me? And I
mm,
love that the universe gave me an opportunity to explain that to her, to explain nobody's at fault. Nothing is good or bad about today. Like, it just was today.
mm.
And of course, like, we had energy in our environment yesterday that was all about looking at the bigger perspective of everything. So, like, the more that you're in your awareness around what's actually happening, especially energetically, the more that you will be able to release that and really be in flow. So many
Mm,
people are like searching videos and like trying to strategize how to be in flow. And it's like,
mm.
be in flow. Like instead of trying to plan how to be in flow. And that's for me. That's even for me. Like instead of trying to plan how to be in flow, just be in flow. Just see what that does.
Okay, let's make this like let's ground this because I think
Mhm,
that's like a really important like space of intention that a lot of us
mhm,
are trying to like navigate through and figure out. So, how would that look like? I'm going to use my
mhm.
current situation right now.
Okay.
I am in the process of moving. This is going to be my first apartment. I am overwhelmed. Like, overwhelmed, and I'm like when you talked about that whole control piece, I'm like, I'm letting go of that idea of everything being perfect. It's okay if like the beginning is a little rocky and it takes time to find your footing, even like financially. And so what does like that flow look like? What would you tell me in this place of like chaos and literally I have to surrender because there's no other option?
Yes. So, what I would say to you, and this is going to be different from the chat that we had previously, because we talked
Mhm.
about your most important gift
Yeah.
last time, and this time I think is more. So, I use Gene Keys
Mhm.
as one of my tools, and we all have a core wound, if you will,
Mhm.
and when that core wound gets triggered.
Yeah.
It sets off this cascade of defense mechanisms and things that conditioning that we learned on how to handle that reaction to the core wound. And so we have a set of things that we learned from 0 to 7 that really taught us to be more serious instead of more like choosing joy, from 0 to 7.
Mm.
And then from 7 to 14, that's when our emotional defenses were formed. And then from 14 to 21, that's when our mental defenses were formed during the teenage years. And that's why um, it usually goes our mental defenses, like, it's interesting how they solidify, but then when
Yeah.
stuff happens, like mentally, you go there immediately. Like, it's like, and then you have to figure out how to navigate this. So for you, your core
Mm.
wound is actually with your gate or gift 28, which is it's all about adventure and challenge. And so the unbalanced expression is one that refuses to take action out of fear that the
Mhm.
journey will be too painful, too wrought with struggle, or that you'll fail, right? You're about to have your first big grown up apartment, right? Um, and so sometimes that can even cause us to feel like a failure, sometimes to fall into that victim consciousness. And so the
Mhm.
more that we can learn to not let struggle and challenge leave you feeling defeated and despairing, and to learn to face life as an adventure. Like in another world, everything I just said yesterday was some magical adventure of triumph and discovery, right? But if I
Mhm.
looked at it as a failure, then that is the narrative that I will realize. And so it's really important for you, us, because we're a reflection of each other right now in this moment, to not let challenge and struggle cause us to feel like we've failed. I also
Mm.
have this gate too. It's not in the same placement that I'm referring to, but I have this gate too. And so the optimal expression with this gate, with this gift, is to really learn to share from your personal experience, your struggles and your triumphs,
Yeah.
to really persevere, and to know that the adventures in your life deepen your ability to transform life into a meaningful journey. To really understand that your struggles help deepen the collective ideas about what is truly valuable and worth creating. So to that, I would just like, I would probably give you an affirmation at that point, like if this was an actual session, because I always like to give people like what's the unbalance, what's the challenge, what we're working towards, what's the optimal expression. And then from there, we go into like some reflection questions, we go into affirmations. But like that's what I would say to you
Mm.
to help you like kind of ground that in. And I just want to know and check in, was that helpful? Did that feel like, oh my gosh, why does she see me right now?
What was really good about this, is it's so connected to how the different conversations I've been having. Yesterday, um, one of my friends, she's a therapist, and so she was doing like market research calls around like eldest daughters. And so I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get on the phone. Let's talk about this. Like, I'm here to give you some feedback. And one of the things that we talked about was, that hyper sense of responsibility and how that sometimes is in conflict with like the childlike desire to play. And so in listening to our conversation here today, I'm like, man, what you said was so powerful about how if in a different experience, maybe even a different person's lived experience, this whole situation would be felt way differently. And so it's like, if I can shake off some of those like eldest daughter tendencies of like responsibility, perfectionism, hyper independence, would this feel more adventurous and fun? So it was actually really good. I was like, ooh, let me sit with that. There's something there about the adventurous piece because yeah, I'm just thinking about how can I tap into that inner child mind. Because I feel like in my lived experience, I've been grown since I was a kid, being super responsible for all of my siblings and stuff. So it's like playfulness, adventure. Where is that? Like,
Yeah. If I may, because
yeah.
you're talking to something, I was like, does she have the 27, which is like the gate of accountability? But interestingly enough, no, you don't. That's the one that gives me those types of questions. You have the other
Mhm.
side of it. So in human design, you have these gates and gifts, which are located in different energy centers.
Mhm.
And when two gates, I say talk to each other, when they actually connect with each other, that's what causes a channel. So there's like this flow of consistent energy going between them. And so when you don't have one part of that channel, then you just have the gate. And so we complete each other right now, right now. So you have the 50, I have the 27. And so the 50 is it's literally called the gate of nurturing, is what gate 50 is. And I heard you say eldest daughter. Did I hear you
Mhm.
say
Yeah. Mhm.
that? So the unbalanced expression of that gate 50 is to overcare,
Yeah.
literally, to let guilt stop you from sustaining yourself, to
Mm.
hold to really rigid principles, right? If you're in that oldest daughter narrative and you're not choosing vitality, then you are holding to those rigid principles of like, what will they think, right? And to struggle to allow others the consequences of their own choices is also an unbalanced expression of this gate. And so the lesson is really to transcend guilt
Mhm.
and that unhealthy obligation and do what you need to take care of yourself in order to better serve others, to really hold to rigid principles that serve boundary. I literally 2 weeks ago, I was like, I have all these boundaries with everyone else. Like, what are the boundaries I have with myself? Like,
Ooh. Break that down. Hold on.
yeah, that was a whole workshop I did with myself on like, what are my boundaries? Did a whole journal prompt and everything. But the optimal expression with that is to the this ability to nurture yourself so that
Mm.
you have more to give to others. The intuition to know what others need to bring them into greater alignment with love, as we were talking about, to really teach and share what you have to increase the well-being of others. So even in all of this overwhelm that you're going through, even in all of this like maybe fear of failure, like, can I really do this? Like, it's one of those things of like, absolutely you can. And when you do, people are going to be like, wow, can you give me tips? Did you have to deal with this? Like, it's going to be for the well-being of others, and you get to choose with your boundaries whether or not you want to help those people and in what capacity you want to give the information from your adventure, challenge, discovery. Like, what do you want to share with them?
Child. Yes, I think that word of nurturing um is really speaking to me because I don't know if I have the same nurturing energy towards myself as I have towards others. And so I'm like, ooh, what would that look like?
Mhm.
Yeah. And I think I'm super excited about being able to be in my own space and just form a new relationship with myself. Um, and instead of performing different acts around from a place of responsibility because others are watching, doing it more out of a love for myself because I want to do this. I get to do this. This is fun.
Mhm.
I think about as a kid, one thing that I used to love is one of my responsibilities was to clean the kitchen. I would love to do it late at night when everybody had gone to sleep, because then I could turn some music on and slip and slide around the, the floors and just like dance as I wash the dishes. And like, I'm excited about having space to do that again, and feel love around the different things I need to do to take care of myself, because it's not performative. It's literally personal. It's just between me and myself. Oh, I can't hear you.
I was just saying, I love that. I was just looking at your energy simultaneously because I love getting to see what parts of people are speaking through their design. And
Yes.
so hearing you say like that vitality, that energy, like you literally have the gate of vitality. And interestingly enough, that connects to gate 18, which is the gate of correction. And there's a
Mm,
lot of parental conditioning with that gate. And you don't have the 18. So the fact that you, in your wisdom as a child, was like your inner knowing, because you have the gift of inner knowing, I just checked, your inner knowing as a child of like, I know I can't be the full me and really enjoy the way, because somebody's gonna be like, do it this way, or you're making a mess while you clean, right? And so for you to have that inner knowing and for that to be bubbling up for you right now of like, yes, like, and you say nurturing is really hitting you, and you have the gate 10, which is the gate of self-love. That is
mm,
one of the gifts that you have. And I don't know, how have you been with creating more space for yourself? Let's just say this past week, like the
mm.
past 7 days. I'm curious. I'll tell you why, but I'm curious. Mhm.
Creating space for myself. I I feel like I've been doing that through setting boundaries into my relationships around what I allow people to have access to in terms of my decision making processes. Like, so creating distance around that so I can literally just listen to myself. What do I really want? What is my heart saying? Not everybody else's expectations. So that's been one of the ways. Creating space for myself. I think outside of that, I don't think there's been a lot of that. I think it's been mainly a survival space. So, you know,
Intriguing.
let's just get
Intriguing.
through this time period.
Yeah, intriguing. So the reason why I asked, thank you for sharing, is
Mhm,
because we, like I said, we just moved into a transit yesterday where
mhm,
the bigger perspective was something that is like really being harped on. And I actually am doing in my community next week something about that. So I hope that you can make that. I'll send you info for that after. But the gate 10
mhm,
is was in our earth for like the past 6 days. And like I said, you have it. And so usually people, when they don't know that they have access to this energy, they live in the shadow of it sometimes
mm.
because there's just not that awareness there. So I was hoping that you'd be like, oh yeah, like I was doing like bubble baths. I was really seeing myself and I was really like, I love me this week.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know. I think it's environmental. But maybe.
Yeah. But well, because the unbalanced expression of the 10 is to question your lovability, to struggle to prove
Mhm,
your love worthiness, to give up and settle for less than what you deserve, and to blame others for your circumstances and your situations. Again, that victim consciousness. There's
yeah.
a few gates that just have like as a sentence, just victim consciousness. Like that's all. We don't need to say more about it, but the optimal expression there is to really to see your love for yourself as the source of your true creative power. And it
Mm,
sounds like now that we're not having that double down of energy of everyone else also like seeking that, because we were also, that was in our earth, but in the sun we had the gate of extremes,
mm.
which is all about like having rituals and routines that basically get disrupted to bring you closer to alignment to source. And so people
Oh.
are really dealing with a lot of
Wait,
more.
when was that? Because that happened like 3 weeks ago. And I'm like, oh goodness, thank you, but why even do it like that?
Yeah, we've been having some interesting transits for sure. And so for our audience, I do an energy transit report every Tuesday at 11 inside of my community. It then gets edited and put onto the podcast on YouTube and like Spotify and things like that. But it is so important for us to know what is happening in our sun and in our earth gates at least, because I remember actually the 28th was in our sun like 2 months ago, something like that, like a month and a half ago. And I remember driving around. It's also in traditional human design is known as like the risk taker, the game player.
Mm.
And so I was seeing a lot of cars being broken into. And I was like, what is going on? And I was seeing like an increase in the amount of cars that I was seeing towed. Like, I was like, people are out here just taking risks, just not just saying, I challenge this law and I'm just gonna. But yeah, 15 was just in our sun, and then 10 was in our earth, which is all about self-love. So it sounds like maybe we're taking in the energy of other people dealing with the reaction to that, being in our sun and earth, and now you're really settling into that optimal expression, like we were saying, to see your love for yourself as your true creative power. Like, me doing this is going to sustain me, it's going to fill my cup so that I can do all of these wonderful, beautiful things that I'm dreaming into existence. I
Mm.
actually just saw that you have a 5 in your profile too. So that 5 in quantum human design is the visionary leader. So the more that you can sustain yourself,
Mhm.
fill your cup, you can launch these big visions, you can bring these into life, like, which is so exciting for you. I love that even though sometimes we may not, hop on the energy of whatever's in the transit that week, we still went through it. We still have to integrate the time of us going through whatever that is. So you're in your integration period right now.
Oh, yes, a lot of things are coming into alignment, by flow or by force. I'm like, "Okay." Mm, okay, so this has been so fun. As we round off this deep dive into my personal world life, um, one question that I would ask is, how can people leverage human design to help them along the way? One of the things that we always talk about on this podcast is that, we're all just figuring life out. So,
Mhm.
like, breathe, release, don't stress about, the fact that you don't know what's next, or even if you're trying to get clarity about what's now, because, you're not alone in that. There's no need to have complete perfectionism in this moment. And so, how can folks who are in that space of like, oh, I'm a little confused right now about life,
Mhm.
myself, I'm in a self discovery space, how can they leverage human design and even your services and support?
For sure. So what I would say, and I love that we're ending on this because I did nerd out a little bit more than I wanted to on some of the gates and things.
It's so fun.
But I love that we're ending with this more simplistic way, because what I would say to that question is to pull your chart. On my website, you can pull your chart for free. You
Mhm.
can figure out well, not figure out, because I'm leaving that language behind, but you can
Yeah.
discover what your actual energy type is and what your strategy is. You're going to discover other things. There's a whole blurb. You're going to be emailed a cheat sheet to decode more things if you want to dive deeper. But like, at a minimum,
Mhm.
look and see what your energy type is and what your strategy and authority is. Because even in just working with your strategy and authority, you will start to see things move in your life. And what I mean by that, and I'll use us as an example,
Mhm.
for you, you have sacral authority. So you know in your gut, in
Yeah.
your body, if something is a yes for you or it's a no for you. And
Mhm.
so what happens is conditioning. All the things that we were taught to believe about how we should act, right? The rule book, if you will, whenever we say they say we should, who is they? Why should we? That's the rule book. And so the more that we can like release that and get back connected to our bodies, like, if I ask you a yes or no question, your body is going to know immediately, like, yeah, or like, no. Your brain then tries to come in and rationalize why it's a yes or a no. And sometimes that takes us away from it. And so for me, I have emotional authority.
Mhm.
So as generators, we both have that sacral yes no. We
Yeah.
both have it. Where it's different is you can just take that yes and you can run with it. Like, this, I feel this in my bones. Like, let's go. Especially if all the other things and other pieces are in alignment, right? I'm speaking generally in this matter. For me, it's a little different. I have to at least wait a day and sleep on it to make sure that as I ride my emotional wave, as I go through my highs and my lows, it's still a yes in the high wave and it's still a yes in the low part of the wave, in the reflective part of the wave. And the more time I can give myself, the better, because then I get more clarity. I get more feelings. I get more, instances where like, yes, this is the right path. You're moving in the right direction. And so that comes from knowing as a generator, I'm here to respond. I'm
Mm-hmm.
here to, life is going to bring me things that I'm going to say yes or no to. That is my divine right as a human incarnating in this vessel right now. And so, yes or no is there. And then the authority piece, it just takes it that much further. For you, it's, I can trust my gut.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to go into my head. I don't need to figure out what this person's going to think or what that person's going to think. Like, I know what's best for me. And for
Mm-hmm.
me, I'm like, I don't feel like this is right. And I used to, especially because I grew up in a household where people were very logical. I did not grow up in a household where anyone had emotional authority either. So I was like the one little grape in the bunch of like, I feel all the feelings, and they're like, ew, why? Like, can you not? And I'm like, but these are important to me. And I'm in the season right now, especially with the family coaching certification that I'm doing with quantum human design, of like, my feelings matter. I was told that they didn't, but they do. It's actually how I make my best, most aligned decisions, is through what I feel about them. And so that
Yes.
is the insight that I would give, because there's like 7 different authorities. There's splenic, there's mental, so I would just say, get curious, pull your
Mm-hmm.
chart, and experiment with just listening to your strategy and authority for a while. You don't even need all these extra gate pieces and components and things like that. But if you do, I have a community where you can learn more about it. And that's on my website too.
I love it. And like, pull your chart, have a conversation with Diamond, because literally the clarity. I've had my chart for like a while, but I know what they was talking about. I was like, this is pretty. And then like for me, my journey was just like on Instagram, whenever I'd see like a repost about a generator, I'm like, that sounds like me. Boom. And that was like the end of like my understanding. But then having an actual conversation with Diamond and her like decoding the chart, it was so healing to see myself mirrored back. And there are a lot of these parts of us, kind of like how you shared in your story, where it's like, if the people around us who are helping us discover our identity, i.e. family or friends or community, don't get how we're wired, we can start to either desensitize ourselves to those pieces, because we're like, well, maybe it doesn't matter, maybe this is wrong, or we can just be like, completely dismiss it. And it's like, that discovery journey is super important, and getting curious without judgment about who you are and how you're wired is so important, because it's all intentional. Like, there's nothing about you that's a mistake. So tell them what the website is, and yeah, so they can actually know where to go.
For sure. So the website is diamonddripconsulting.com.
Mhm.
If that is too hard for you to remember, I actually did this the other day in incognito mode. Just Google who is Coach Diamond Drip, and all of my stuff is going to come up. I was so like, how they do those AI overviews?
Yes.
I'm in the AI overview now.
Okay, look at that SEO. Wrong SEO.
you know? So, yes. DiamondDripConsulting.com, or just Google who is Coach Diamond Drip.
Y'all get on that. But thank you so much for this incredible conversation. As always, it is a absolute joy to be in your presence, to have a conversation with you. You're just like sunshine.
I received that. So are you. You're a mirror. We're mirroring right now.
And so, as to each of you all here today for this conversation, just a reminder: we are all figuring life out. Even in the seasons where it feels hard and heavy, just know that you're not alone in that. We are all trying the best that we can to work through all the different seasons of life. Um, and also, it may not be hard and heavy because you did something wrong. It literally is just a season, and the season will change and it will feel lighter. But in this space, when it does feel especially hard and heavy, lean into your community, hold on to hope, and just take it one day at a time, one choice at a time. Until next time, bye. Ooh, hearts. I've never. Can I do that too?
If you have
Oh
your Mac reactions turned on.
no! Oh my god! I'm. I'm gonna get off of here.